Well, I think it's, I think the oldies scene is pretty much dead. I don't have any desire to go to any of these shows that they have left because there's not, first of all, there aren't very many people left. They're oftentimes not in the best of health.
Right.
And the best artists, now we did, Ray Regalado and I and a few other people went to the special party that this couple that gave up in the San Gabriel Valley. There they had like there was a young doo-wop group, probably in their 30s, and they did a great job. And then there was like an older sort of Chicano band, and they did a great job. But as far as trying to bring back the old recording artists, it's always disappointing at this point because either they don't rehearse with the groups, and oftentimes the artists don't care, or they're not in the best of health or something like that. So you're not getting a really good performance that's going to even come up to the to the excellence of all those old records.
So to that extent, what keeps something like Viva Las Vegas still alive? And apparently that has a pretty good following.
Well, it's all recreations at this point. It's young people doing, redoing the old stuff.
Yeah, but they always have one or two originals, one or two.
Well, yeah, but usually they're like they're someone who was they weren't a front person in the group.
Yeah, and
you got one Platter left, who was he was the baritone.
Yeah,
Herb Reed.
Herb Reed. No, he was the bass.
Oh, the bass. Okay, he was the bass. You got maybe one.
You got Gaynell Hodge left.
Well, yeah,
he's not local, of course. He's in Europe the last time. Europe.
You got one coaster. One active, singing coaster.
Well, you get Carl Gardner, but you also have Leon Hughes, although...
Yeah, but he was never a singer. I think he was with the group on one or two sessions, and he was always strictly in the background.
So you got Cleve Duncan of
the...
Jesse,
OB.
You got Cleve Duncan of...
the
Penguins, and Little Eddie of the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's surprising, though, that there is at least that one person that has the historic, right to call the shots and slap their name on the group.
Yeah.
And there's a few people like Veronica Julian and Frida Sinclair, that.
Well, no, I mean they're trying, but they don't. But they've come along at a time when there's really not much talent left for them.
The talent pool is limited.
Yeah.
And young
and
people.
Oftentimes the backup bands are, they seem a little haphazard.
Right. Well, Dave Caddison, who was in the band that sax player in the band that did doo-wop society shows, was a great player and had his own credentials and everything. Came back from Viva Las Vegas and said it was as strong as ever, and it's it's a lot of interest. But translating that energy and that interest in one geographic location and make it apply all over the places. I mean, how many centers of this music are there? There's Pittsburgh and New York, and I guess Florida has some action going. And I guess Philadelphia does, and LA to a very limited extent. But one time I talked to Joe Fields of Savoy Records, and he told me when he put out a new release where he expected it to sell and how many copies it would sell. He said New York, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, I guess LA, San Francisco, and maybe 3,000 copies, and that pretty well taps the market. And I think that's even more pronounced these days. Vegas too. But I guess you sort of have to depend on regional scenes too, like New Orleans or...
Well, yeah, but although that doesn't really have, there's not much left there. Now, like you take the Viva Las Vegas and the similar festival up in Green Bay, I think, that focuses, I think, more on rockabilly music.
Yeah.
you know, they go in there, they've got the money to at least hire whoever's left for a huge show. Whoops. And so there's, you know, so that they can bring all these people in and make it seem a little more impressive.
Right.
But you can't do that on just a regular basis.
On a week-to-week basis,
Yeah,
where you have
yeah.
and that's the bread and butter of the whole thing. Like the duo, you know, even every 3 months, I guess, would be a difficult set. But then again, there's Europe. Things are happening in Europe, right? I mean, isn't that where a lot of Americans go to get the recognition they never got in the States?
Yeah, they go over, but, you know, they go on tours. The money's not that tremendous, you know. They still have festivals, blues festivals, and...
So what does it take to keep this music alive, or is this
Well, when you consider you know, this is music from the 40s and 50s and going into the 60s, all the artists are now in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah. For us to be devotees of music that came out in the 50s is even more problematic than in the 50s, following John, you know, believing in John Philip Sousa music. It's you know, from a chronological standpoint.
Well, you know, it's funny, up in Hollywood, I know people who are into a lot of the older music. I know some people who are in the Al Jolson Society. And some are, like, you know, the groups of people who are, you know, big Eddie Cantor fans. And these people are really out of luck. I mean, they have to rely completely on you know, old films and recordings, and with imitators. People come out there and they do all that old stuff. So
how about the people that follow blackface minstrels?
The minstrels. Yeah.
There's not, so the Eddie Cantors and the Al Jolsons and the Rudy Valleys aren't being born every minute.
That's right. They're not. Yeah.
How many? Okay, comparable to the R&B and rock and roll scene. How many young people come along and say, "Man, I wish I could have been here when Eddie Cantor was doing his thing, or Al Jolson." There's got to be a few.
Well, there are a few, yeah, but they're very rare.
Well, gee, it's been nice talking to you about this, Jim.
It is nice talking to you, Steve.